All right. Good morning. All truckers here. I did enjoy chatting over at Chris Daily Atheist Morning Show. I enjoyed what was going on there. There's a couple of people over there that don't really understand what it's like to have a fruitful conversation, and so they treat people like crap. What are you gonna do? I tell you, it ain't my cup of tea. But it's good. It's good. We have to realize people of all sorts live and exist all around the world, and some of them have really crap ideas, and some of them really don't want to be nice to people. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go. I'm going to try to do this. I unplugged the mouse so I could charge up my phone, which was kind of dumb, but I'm going to go on here and I'm gonna play my intro song while people find us. Jesus, I think our buddy Bruntley is going. Anyway, it's fine though. I can show my own fucking video if I can find it. If I can find it. I've been looking at a lot of nonsense. Lots and lots of nonsense. Oh, there was my show yesterday. Intro music. Here we go. And I'll do. Oh, I gotta go back to this channel, right? Like where we are, right? And then I gotta share it. This is how it works. Anyway, nobody's here, so like I'm not fucking this up. It won't even be fucked up for the people that come here. They'll just see me talking about myself fucking up. It's just the way it is. All right, so we'll go here. There's the live streaming. Here's the intro music. And we're gonna just we'll back it right up to the beginning so people don't miss any of the awesome.
Yeah, sun coming up, darkness melts. What's that rumble? It's a man that's stout, hauling ass, dragging hoes, even 40 below. Up a pass, down a pit, snow and rain gives no shits. Throwing chains, hooking hooks, giving big iron a good look. Here he comes, family tame. What the fuck? Al Trucker! He's pretty nice for a big motherfucker. Yep, he's stout, knows the route, got some big road clout. Shifting gears, hauling far, hauling near, windscreen clear. Sit right down in that chair. He's got some shit he wants to share. Chat along, sing a song. Let's see what's right and what's wrong. Al Trucker! Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, Dave.
Al Trucker! Al Trucker! Al Trucker! Yeah. Yep, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah, he's stout, knows the route, got some big road clout. Shifting gears, hauling far, hauling near windscreen. Sit right down in that chair, he's got some shit he wants to share. Chat along, sing a song, let's see what's right and what's wrong. Al Trucker! Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Al Trucker! Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Al Trucker! Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Al Trucker! Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yeah, it's me, Al Trucker. Yep, it's me, Al Trucker.
All right. All right, there we are. I'm here. That's me. And I keep forgetting I'm using the trackpad here to stop sharing. All right, so here I am. It's Al Trucker. I'm here to talk about whatever the fuck people want to talk about. But I'm going to start out by talking about this Aether, the Aether cosmology, because people have been talking about Aether, and I heard through the grapevine that Professor Parks, Rob Parks, really nice guy. He's a PhD. He does astronomy and physics in I forget what university he teaches at, but it doesn't really matter. He's somewhere in the USA. He says howdy. I think he might be Texan. I'm not really sure. But I think howdy. Isn't that how they talk in Texas? I don't really know. Anyway, I can say howdy. Anyway, Professor Parks, really smart guy. Has a really good attitude towards talking to people that don't understand science, because he is a science educator by profession. So he's really good. He calls himself Professor Parks, PhD. I can't remember if he says that, but I think he may have that in his title. He has a channel. He does great content. He goes on other people's channels. He goes in Discord chats. Anyway, I guess he was talking to people about. It sounded like he was talking about Newton's bucket. I saw a comment about it. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to find this video and look at it. But yesterday I was talking about the Michelson-Morley experiment, and this is one of those things where, I mean, these guys have been dead so long and nobody knows how to pronounce Michelson. Is it Michelson or Michelson? And of course we all know how to pronounce Morley, because wasn't Morley in old Charles Dickens's repertoire of stories he told. He told some stories. Anyway, it was a busy day yesterday, and it's been a busy morning for me so far. I've done some laundry, I've done some dishes, I ran something over to my kid, forgot something again, second day in a row. I had one day without a kid forgetting something. Anyway, that kid goes to school in town instead of out of town, like my daughter does. So it was less of a trip, and I needed to go to the drugstore. So killed two birds with the old one stone there. It reminds me, I'm gonna have to go grab that stuff out of the thing, because one of the medicines has to go in the fridge, but it'll be fine. It's temperature sensitive, but not like volatile. Anyway, I'm here. I'm chatting. I enjoy the chat over at Chris's, and I know Brentley's doing a members thing right now, and I didn't realize that, but I can't just cast whenever. I have a meeting this afternoon. I have some work I'm gonna do. I was working on it last night. I'm gonna work on it again today. I'm trying to get some stuff together for my fellowship. But this Aether thing's been bugging me, because these folks keep coming up and saying, "Well, this Aether exists," and even though it's been sort of proven not to exist, um, we we're still talking about it because some people refuse to become educated in science. That's basically what the real problem is that people refuse to admit that you need a great foundation to build upon. And as I metaphorically and in reality, you cannot build a great foundation without spending some time and effort doing it. And there's an interesting phrase that people use, is like when something's built on sand. Well, let me tell you something. I've built stuff on sand. Sand has a bearing capacity. It isn't the same bearing capacity as other soils. Soils have different bearing capacities. Now, when you say that you shouldn't build something on sand, it's because you don't realize that there are ways to build in and on sand. Now, what you should not do is build something on a pile of sand and just walk away. But if you are building in sandy soils, there are ways to build a very solid foundation. And I know how to do that because I spent my life learning and practicing commercial construction. And so I've built buildings in sand. And I've also seen people that built with what they had at the time and managed to build buildings that stood a long time by taking some basic concepts and putting them to use. Now, they did poorly in some ways, but they did well in others. And when you look at the years that things were built, this is important because the Michelson-Morley experiment was done in the late 19th century. And one of the places where I worked, some of the buildings were also built in the mid to late 19th century, and they were still standing. And some of them were built in sand. Now, sand is a difficult material because it can flow. Sand is one of a very few things that we encounter on Earth that are solid but can behave like a fluid, which is interesting. And it causes problems. But it also causes engineers and architects and builders and people that know how to do construction to investigate, test, and then instigate work that is done well. Now, sand has one thing about it that is really good, and that is that it doesn't hold moisture as well as like a clay soil, for instance. And so, if you take certain steps, you can build it, and it can help you with dealing with frost because it has a natural tendency to allow percolation of water and not holding water in some ways. Although when it frosts up, the moisture that is there will turn wet sand into a brick of ice, which is really what it is actually like ice bonding sand grains together. It's pretty neat stuff, but I tell you, if you got to go through it with a frost pick, it's a bit of work. So these are things that happen in northern climates and in far southern climates where we get freezing. It's interesting that water does something that most other things don't do. It expands when it's frozen. And that's a pretty cool thing. And we figured that out. And you know what? For that reason, when we build in our climate, we put our foundations at least 4 feet under grade because frost will not penetrate. There's this cool thing, and this is something that builders know, geologists know, and probably other types of scientists know, and people that are willing to dig a hole in the winter know, and that is that frost will only penetrate so deep. There are permafrosts that are very deep in very northern and very southern areas that never go away, and they get deeper and deeper. But there is a limit. There is a limit to how far down a frost will go. Once you get to a certain point, the frost doesn't make it there, and the warmth underneath keeps it at like an even temperature. And this is important stuff to know. Now, that's not what my show is about. That's not what I'm going to talk about to begin with. I'm going to talk about Aether or Ether. So, this ether cosmology thing that people were talking about. So, in the 19th century, what people believed and understood was that uh, because we know that if you have something creating a wave on the surface of water, for instance, which is used as a good sort of something that people understand. Most people have like dropped a pebble in a still pond, and you could like fill up a sink in your kitchen if you want to test this out. Grab like a marble or something. If you have kids, you probably got all sorts of weird shit that's basically waterproof, and you fill your bathtub, fill your kitchen sink or whatever. You even put like if you think it's gonna like dent something, put like a washing cloth or something, a washcloth or some sort of dish rag down at the bottom of it, like set it down there so you don't like chip your ceramics or whatever, but drop something that you know is going to be pulled down, and just let the water get still and drop something in it, and you'll see waves radiating out from it that goes across the surface. It's an interesting thing, and a wave pattern is there. And we know that sound does the same thing. We understand like the sound waves that you're hearing now. Most speakers work by there's like a magnet and a sort of big membrane that has like a flexible rim around it, and the way the sound is produced by a speaker is by pulsating in the speaker box. It pulses air out and sends it out in a wave pattern, and that wave pattern, in fact, is how you hear things that are going on. And there's a very high likelihood that if you have decent speakers playing what you're hearing, that it's coming out of such a speaker. I think other methods are used to digitize sound. They're a little bit different. They don't have like a little membrane. They make their sound a different way, but that's an analog way, to make sound, and it does make a wave. So what it does is those pulses actually make a wave in the air. And if you were to somehow be in a vacuum and you could somehow like expose your ears to the vacuum, but like you could still breathe or something, I'm sure you could make some sort of a helmet like that. We could hypothesize that such a helmet could be built. And you had the greatest fucking speaker set ever, like something from like a concert from like ACDC, the type of thing that like if you were standing there, it would like literally like blow your hat off. I had a friend female friend who was sitting on a speaker once. We were at like a live music thing, and she joked about how she could be sexually satisfied by the pulsing in the speaker, which is funny, and maybe something I should have understood at the time. But I was a young guy, and I didn't read signals very well. Anyway, if she ever watches this show, she can tell me if that was a signal or just she just liked making crude jokes. which I find funny. I laughed, but maybe I should have been a little more with it, so to speak. Anyway, um, I I'm glad I didn't figure that out, because you know what, I found my wife and we have a wonderful relationship, so that's kind of much better. Now, light is a wave. Iron Maiden was the loudest show I saw at the Threshold of Pain. All right, way to go, Dave. You can tell talking to Dave. He's the kind of guy that's been to a metal concert, right? I have been to very few concerts in my life. I could probably like count them all up, but I've been to a rave. I don't know who was playing at the rave, but I saw somebody play at a rave. It's probably some sort of like um, trance, trip hop kind of rave music, dance music stuff, and everybody was like getting high on whatever. This is back in the '90s, like in the '90s rave. First concert I ever saw, Johnny Cash, 1985. I've seen Lyle Lovett play live. I've seen Merle Haggard play live. I've seen Diana Krall play live. I've seen Dire Straits play live. I've seen the Tragically Hip play live. I've seen man, who else have I seen play live? I'm not a person who goes out of my way to see live concerts. I saw Enter the Haggis play. Like, I really love live music in a small venue. Like, I like going to like a place. I saw what was that fucker's name? Canadian blues musician, Gordson. Anyway, I've seen Gordon Lightfoot. I've seen Burton Cummings. I've seen them play live. I've seen I've seen Gordy a couple of times. Blue something. Anyway, their name will come to me. I saw them at I forget the name of the place. It was down near the Elmo, but it wasn't at the Elmo Combo. If you're Canadian and you've been to like Toronto, the Elmo is probably a place most people know of. I've probably been into. I have been in the Elmo. It's been a long time. I've been to a lot of Toronto. I've been to a lot of like Toronto places that are sort of well known, and heard some music. But I've also had just a good time, just hanging out and drinking. And then I quit drinking, and my hanging out was curtailed. But I just kept drinking coffee and hanging out with my friends and stuff. And but I really enjoyed, for a long, long time, I enjoyed seeing like live sort of trad folk music. And I used to drink at a bar on the Danforth that played that. It's called Allen's. And I think it might still be there. I think it might still be there. Anyway, I used to really enjoy hanging out there and having some drinks. But yeah, if you're a Toronto person, you know some of the places I've been. 122 degrees Fahrenheit inside the venue with my girlfriend on my shoulders. Aerosmith, yeah, I bet. Seen them twice, yes. Well, and you know what? Having your girlfriend on your shoulders is like, that's great, Dave. But like after a certain number of hours, I'm sure you had a sore neck. And I'm sure your girlfriend was worth holding up the whole time, though. I tell you, I bet you were sweating though. But you're probably in better shape than I am. I could probably hold up. I could hold up some girlfriends for a while, but yeah, I mean it really depends. But yeah, no, when I get warm, I'm not very good for anything. I'm better. I work better in the cold. If it's like super cold, if it gets to be like minus 30 Celsius, I start to put on a parka and shit. Now I'm going to talk about these waves. I'm going to talk about waves. So one thing we know, is that if you had a wave, and you traveled like in a direction, like let's say this tub I'm talking about, you could move it in one direction. You have it like you fill a tub of water, you put wheels on it. We had shit like that in kindergarten. We had like a water play table, right? Now, if you were to drop the marble in it, the waves would go for a certain amount of time. And if you were careful and you moved it and weren't accelerating it or anything like that, you could move it at a constant speed. If very carefully without like jerking the water around, because the water is gonna slosh around, right? But if you were able to have it moving, like maybe it's already moving, you've got it moving at a steady state, and you drop the marble in it and the waves are going, from your point of view, watching it go by, some of them are moving straight towards you, some of them are moving away from you like this, right? And then there's ones moving this way, and this way, right? The ones that are moving towards this direction, the ones moving towards this direction are going different. The ones going this way, if this is the direction we're pushing it, like we're pushing this cart full of water this way, the waves are traveling faster because they also have the speed that's been added to them by the motion of the tub of water. And so this is a concept that people understand. And these types of concepts are often talked about. I haven't heard this one with the tub of water talked about, but I've sort of come up with this on the spot. I didn't really think this through. What I did was I watched for myself a video about the Aether experiment that they did to try and prove that the Aether was there and what it would do. Because what they thought was that if there's an Aether, if there's just material moving around, that this material would in fact, okay. And I looked like, I just got a message from DC. She's up and at 'em. She's up and at 'em. Also, I'm pretty sure DC's in Texas. I think she says howdy. There's Texans all over the place. Anyway, let's say, and Dave's telling us all about how sweaty he was with his girlfriend, which, Dave, you don't have to overshare. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, you know what? I remember being a young man and going through. It's funny what kind of uncomfortable things you'll do when you're young and in shape or out of shape. Doesn't really matter. I was in better shape when I was younger too. But when you're young and let's say Twitter pated, there's a lot of stuff you go through, men and women both, and to be with the one you love, the one you want to be with, whatever it is. It's a funny thing. And then when you get older, you're like, let's do something comfortable. As one of the great things about being married to my wife is that we will, there's things we want to do and there's things we talk about, and then there's things we're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just do that in a way that we won't end up throwing our backs out. Like that's kind of like, it's kind of a key thing as you get older, right? You want to find ways to have fun that don't involve going to the hospital. And let me tell you, I've had too much of the fucking hospital. So this Michelson-Morley experiment took that sort of idea. Like if things are moving all in one direction because of the Aether, there should be this sort of Aether wind, and the postulate that there has to be a material, like sound moves through the air, so there's a sound wave, right? We can measure them. We can have an oscilloscope, and you can see these waves can be measured. You can detect them, right? There's a detector, and the Michelson-Morley experiment involved, and I would threaten to get out a whiteboard. I do have a whiteboard here. But I'm just gonna say, there's a source of light here, like here, and it's going this way. And you put a beam splitter in. So this beam splitter has a half silvered mirror. So some of the light goes this way. Some of the light goes this way. Some of the light goes this way, and some of the light all of the light comes this way and then comes to a detector here, right? So the light is shot out from here, goes this way. It meets something here, and some of it goes through. But when it bounces back, so there's mirrors here and here, and it bounces back and comes back and goes down. When that happens, the recombination should have an interference pattern, and the interference pattern is not evidence of an ether. It's evidence that they're traveling different distances, that the wavelengths have been changed somehow. And as we've gained precision, like one of the things we can do about the stuff is we use like laser interferometry now, which is really cool. Laser interferometry uses the same kind of ideas of the interference pattern that you get from this Michelson-Morley thing, but they're built to do like a laser interferometry gyroscope can't remember how to pronounce that, but if you have a gyroscope that works that way, it uses the interference pattern because one of the beams of light is traveling at a different speed than the other, and you can do the math to figure out what direction the gyroscope is moving in. And that, that's that thing. Like when people say R.I.P. Bob Nodell and his gyroscope, they showed that the Earth was moving at 15 degrees per hour. The 15 degree per hour drift is measured by that type of gyroscope. But at this first experiment they did, they set up to do it was a light interferometry thing. And a laser, just to be clear, is light, the beam of light that's in phase. So when light is in phase, all the light is at the same wavelength, right? And so by being able to focus these things, you can get rid of confounding variables. I think we could say, right? So you have confounding variables in an experiment, you want to get rid of them. So more and more precise versions of this experiment have been done, but what they did was they set up this interference pattern that I'm going to call it an interferometer. They might have called it that, but it basically measured this. And the thing is, they found the exact same interference pattern, whether it was mounted horizontally or whether it was mounted vertically, or whether they moved it, to face a different cardinal direction, like in the horizontal. Because you could, like, if I'm just going to grab a book here, right? So I have my book. So you could. This is I'm using I have this clear thing I could use, but I'm using this book. This is a graphic novel about Teen Titans. So you could have it this way, right? You could have it this way. You could have it this way, but you could also have it like this way and this way and this way. And also, what they knew at the time they were doing this is something, because Aether cosmologists often overlap with flat earthers and space deniers and space travel deniers and moon landing deniers. All of these people together have all these doubts about the science that they're being taught or that's available to find out about. And my recommendation to them is go to school, learn the science that you think is being taught wrong, understand what it is that you think is being taught wrong, and then come back to us with your fantastic, like, world-beating ideas of science. Show us that you know and understand everything that's understood in science, that you've taken like a multi-year degree and then done at least a master's degree, and then start working on something. Your PhD, your Nobel Prize is waiting for you when you know what's there and you prove it wrong. A lot of groundbreaking science is when you prove what's already thought to be well understood wrong by giving us new information. That's how you do it. You might want to ask yourself, why are you learning this fucking fantastic piece of information from a truck driver? It's because this truck driver is not super well educated, but I'm educated well enough to know what I don't know. And I know that what I know is enough to be curious about finding out more. Instead of making proclamations about what is and what isn't, I am taking this time that I have off to do a little bit more thinking, because being off for medical reasons, I can't get under a hoe and put hooks in her and chain her down to my deck. I can't do that right now, but I think I'm getting really close. I've done little bits and pieces of work. My motorcycle has a thing falling off of it that I realize the bracket isn't on, and I need to get under it and tighten it. And I use it to run this thing to town for my son. So I parked it in my wife's spot, and I'm going to get under it and have a look at it later. That'll be another test of me getting up and down off the ground and being able to do some stuff, right? Dave's talking about holding his girlfriend on his shoulders for, like, I mean, how long was the concert back then? 3-4 hours, Dave? I mean, it's wild. But, there's many a young man would hold a young woman on his shoulders for hours and hours just to, be close to her. For cis hetero men anyway. But you know what? Other men would just do it to be nice. And so, I appreciate your commentary on the concerts. Now, when one of the concerts my wife and I went to, and we haven't gone to a lot together, one of the ones we went together, it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Was the one, what was the one that we did? Merle Haggard. Really enjoyed going to see Merle Haggard. We were just sitting in chairs side by side, but we were enjoying it because there's a lot of Merle Haggard music that's really great. Love music. It's about, feelings he must have had, or other songwriters that he sang their songs like that they had for somebody important in their life. And I wrote a poem for my wife, and I tried making it into AI music. I'm going to play with that a little bit more. I think I might share that with her. I don't think I'm going to share it with the population here, but I do love that. I think it's super important. 90 minutes, not counting openers and pre-show. Yeah, there you go, Dave. I mean, hopefully in the parking lot she gave you a little bit of a break, but maybe you had her on top of you the whole damn time. And you know what? When you're partying and having fun and drinks and like I guess like tailgate and style, that's fun. It's fun stuff, right? So okay. All right. I'm getting messages. Um here we go. Hmm. Yeah, so I gotta talk to DC and I are gonna try to do a show together. Mm, okay. Oh, apparently DC might come over and chat. I mean, DC and I are gonna do like a chat about stuff. Now DC's been super great to the community. I want to point that out. So this Aether thing, I mean, hopefully I've explained it. When they did it, it didn't matter. I'm just gonna finish this off because the Aether thing, when they did the Michelson-Morley experiment, and I know I'm all over the goddamn place. When they did the Michelson-Morley experiment, what they found was that it didn't matter what orientation the apparatus was in. They built this great apparatus. They came up with the perfect idea of how to fix it. And the interference pattern never changed no matter what they did. And so, because of that, we can say with great certainty that there was no Aether affecting that experiment. And so they talked about it getting a null result because they thought if they did this experiment, they would detect the Aether at the very least, and maybe even be able to say which direction it's going in. It doesn't appear to be there. It didn't happen. And many more experiments have been done to bring us to knowing that the Aether theory, that hypothesis, using theory colloquially, but that hypothesis is wrong. And so we were able to dispense with it. And knowing about that experiment, and Einstein referenced that experiment. He said, knowing that was the case, he was able to build upon that and know about relativity and how to start working on what relativity is. And relativity is interesting because relativity talks about the fact that a body can be in motion relative to another body, but you could also consider that body to be not moving and everything else moving around it in order to calculate what's going on with it. And that's a very simple way to put it, but relativity really is about the fact that things move relative to one another. My hands here, they're not moving at all. And, to do this, they're moving. They're moving past each other. Sorry, this is definitely a spam call. I can tell by the numbers that come up that I'm getting a spam call. And if they really want to talk to me, they can call me again. DC, howdy and welcome. Hello. Is that how you say it? I don't know how to do that. I'm not very good at doing voices. I do my own voice. But howdy. DC, I think you're in Texas. I was saying that before. I think DC's down in Texas. Yes, I will make a chicken nugget thing, DC. Absolutely I will. Thank you for coming over. DC's sending me messages. DC, I would love to have you come on anytime and do a show with me. And we should probably plan it so we could invite people from the community. One interesting thing that's happened, and it's funny because I've been thinking about this for a little while, but I had no plan to do it. But I was thinking, like once I get a chance to talk to DC somewhere, I should say, hey DC, you should meet some people here, right? You're in Texas. Your husband is stationed in Japan, and you're moving next spring. Are you moving to Japan? That would be super cool, DC. But I realize like, you're a military wife. Like you're there. Purple, good to see you. Welcome, Purple. And you know what? I gotta Purple. I gotta make into a moderator here because there we go. You're a what is it? You're a dependent. New duty station. Okay. Yeah, so and I guess I don't really know how that works, but I know like people I know in the military around here, like you kind of got to live near the base, and they move you around for that, right? You suck as a moderator. It's okay, Purple. You're a moderator. Just don't use it for evil purposes. I know you won't. So in the last sort of week or so, just by happenstance, like Dr. Tapp and I we're just good buddies. We chat all the time. We talk We talk like on the phone, we talk on chat, we go to rooms together and chat with each other in the side chat sometimes, or we do, yeah. It's just you don't like living on base. Some people do, yeah. Yeah, you live near on it, but yeah. So DC, yeah, I guess that's like it's a whole thing, right? Yes, and Hail Big. So, if you don't know, Captive Desk is Dave DC. You may see him coming around, and his channel is good too. He does. Dave, put your channel in there. Grass. You got Grassman Chronicles, and then the Captive Desk. Oh, hail Bigfoot! Hail Bigfoot! Do I have a Bigfoot voice? I don't think I do. I mean, I try to have a good voice, but I don't know what to do. But yes, DC, please subscribe. Meow. So, so Dave does a lot of stuff to do with cryptids, particularly Bigfoot style cryptids. But he knows a lot about these other ones. So this is more of like mythology and it's cool stuff though. Like um does he have a Nightbot? I don't know. I do not. I don't know what a Nightbot is, DC. But I'm DC. I'm a truck driver, not a streamer. I'm streaming because I'm off trucking. But yeah. So yeah, Dave has Captive Desk and then the Grassman Chronicles. So the Grassman Chronicles. I think you've done a few with Look at the Trees too, right? Like on Grassman, like where you guys like tell a story, share a myth. You know what? I always when I was driving all the time, I would listen in, but I've been doing a bad job at following Dave's content, but I've been seeing Dave all over the place, and I think Dave and I've even streamed together on other people's streams. Last night, I went over to Joe, the Kentucky Atheist, and started complaining about politics, and then I went over to DC's because I was tired of politics. And one thing about DC is she doesn't allow you to talk about politics. So that's a thing. That's a thing we should talk about is politics. And Purple was in the chat at DC last night. Came over and said hello. And yeah, so I think DC got to hear a little bit of Purple because Maya and I were in talking about how great she is, and DC got to see Maya and Dr. Tap do their Bad Science Sunday. There's a lot of people that I intersect with, and I've always said this is weird. And so DC, I'm gonna have you on my show somehow. I'm hoping we can do 2 streams. One where you and I sit down and talk about like what is MLM all about. So you could like share that with my viewers, and then your viewers would be welcome to watch it somehow. I don't know if we like double stream it or how you do it, like the way you do with Wendy and Jen and Lushy or whatever. But yeah. Oh yeah, Mark Reed did a launch into it. Yeah. You're definitely smart enough to stream with me, DC. Yeah, we co-stream yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I'm happy to do that so that people are seeing it on both sides. But we could advertise it a couple of days in advance or whatever. DC's been streaming every single day in October, and many days she's doing a members only stream ahead of time, which a members only stream, you do it in a more casual way. You're not on as much, but it's still a lot, right? So the bad thing about me is I'm getting better enough to go back to work, and so I won't be doing streams like this as often, but I'll do them when I can. Yeah, Screams and Streams, your October fun. Yeah, I know that's great, and you know what, I love it. And you know what, last year was on Slim's a lot for October, and he was doing a stream a day, or at least the 4 days a week that he always does them. And Slim was doing like all sorts of different like spooky stuff. Yeah, you know what, DC, I miss talking to people like this because when I'm driving my truck, I can't do this. So when I'm driving my truck, I'm listening, and I used to do a lot better at catching up because like sometimes I didn't have time to like engage at all. Like if I got to the point where I was stopped, I'd look for a live. But if I was just rolling down the road, I'd look for like a live that had been pre-run so that I wouldn't be tempted to try and chime in with anything. But I did that sometimes. Weekly stream in 3 hours. Yes, Purple on Wednesdays. Purple rhymes with orange. She has, or they have, a great stream. And DC, one thing I'd like to point out, because people may wonder about this, and actually one person asked me yesterday, I think it was Ember asked me, is DC's stream sort of queer friendly, I guess, to be like super broad. And yes, it is. And I will say that DC stream is extremely tolerant and accepting and welcoming of people of all stripes, except for assholes. I mean, you can basically be anything you want to be except an asshole. And that's kind of my way of seeing it. I don't care. I don't care what holes you have. I don't care what other things you have. I don't care where you like to put them. If you're doing it with consenting adults, do what you fucking want. And we're not even really talking about it that much. Although Dave and I were talking about how when he was younger, he held his girlfriend on his shoulders for 90 minutes plus at a big hot concert. No lint liquors. Yes, lint liquor, and chicken nugget are DC's words for people that I would probably just call stupid motherfuckers, assholes, and just fucking douche nozzles. But you know, the Jersey Devil. Oh, Jersey Devil. Yes, indeed, Grassman. All right, cool, Dave. We'll be watching out for that. And Dave's you know, I'm working on trying to have a radio voice, and I don't really have one. But Dave and Jimmy, and Seth Andrews all have these like great fucking streams because their voices are like captivating, and I'm like, I got to work on that. I got to work on having a radio voice. I got to have a big, booming, deep voice, which people say I have in person, and I probably just don't have the recording equipment to pick it up. Because when I listen to it, I'm like, I sound like I'm in a soup can. DC, can I put this up here? I don't know how to do this. Do I? Pin message? No. Okay. Pinning the message isn't what I want to do. Anyway, I'm not on StreamYard today, and StreamYard's been sucking really hard. And I know Tap and Maya do something. I forget what they call the program they use. I asked Tap if I should do it, and he said it's probably not worth it. It must cost some money. I don't know. But they're monetized, so like they have some money coming in for it, and I don't have any money coming in, right? Example of conversations can change hearts and minds. DC, I think that's important, right? Like I grew up in I grew up with parents who were socially liberal-ish for Canada, but pretty conservative and definitely financially conservative. And I grew up to, and I ran a company, right? So theoretically, like the conservatives had my back all the way through, but you know what? They fucking didn't. Nobody had my back. When things went shitty, when I was having a rough time, when my business was having a rough time, nobody wanted to help me at all because I was a small business, not a big one. And I saw big businesses taking all sorts of money. I saw people, you know, leaving their jobs and getting paid to stay home, which is fucking great. But you know what? I had to keep working to pay the bills, and I didn't have any money coming in for a while. It was fucking terrible. So yeah, I kind of pissed off at everybody when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I don't care. Like political parties can go fuck themselves. I care about people. Political parties are all out for number one, and they're out for and I'm out for the 8 billion. I don't care about your number one. I care about the 8 billion. Let's all get together and look after each other, right? These other motherfuckers can go like piss up a rope, is what my dad would have said. My dad's been gone for coming on almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in January. And I'm trying to learn how to live with that, because my dad was a great guy. He was a loving guy. He was well liked and loved by many people, including myself. But he was also he was abusive to me in a lot of ways that I've had to deal with and try to come to terms with, which is fucking hard sometimes. And that, you know, that's something I've had to like try to like wrap my head around, that people are not all good, not all bad, right? And that's the thing, is like some political parties are not all good, not all bad. There can be good people in a political party that are in there for a good reason, but don't find what they're looking for there, right? And okay, DC, who DC, you're basically a professional streamer, I would say, right? Frustrated with some of the sound and connection issues with StreamYard. For Ecamm, when I'm by myself, StreamYard is better for groups of people and struggling with sound and connection. Yeah, and I know we've had that. Oh, hello, Sarah. Welcome, Sarah. Sarah Pitcher. Do I know you, Sarah, from another chat, or have you just happened by? But I'm terrible with names, except for people I've hung around with for a while. Captain, good to see you. Captain is I don't know if you're on the high seas. I know you were off work for a little bit. Captain, you were sick or something. I can't remember what happened to you. You got to tell me again, Captain, because I know you were injured or sick or something. And yeah, Purple, mine too. He was an alcoholic. That was part of the problem, right? He was an alcoholic, so it was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing sometimes. Oh, you've been in DC's. Okay, Sarah, welcome. I'm so glad you come by. I was home for a long time. Oh yeah, it was torn meniscus. That's what you were injured. You were injured. You're getting like an operation or something, right? Oh yeah, you got the operation now, Captain. Okay, cool. Captain is Captain's awesome. Awesome. I see you've explained what's going on here. Thanks, Captain. I appreciate it. Um so here's the thing. And I'm going on another side tangent, but Tiny Captain, why are you not modded in my channel, Captain? Probably because I didn't do this. One of the reasons I like to mod people, had my ACL done. Sarah, well, you know about this, right? So I had my arm rebuilt, but I haven't had my knees worked on, but I have a bad arthritis. I don't have this torn meniscus thing, thankfully. I got a lot of arthritis in my body though. Yeah, so Tiny Captain does cool streams, but Tiny Captain is the tiniest because he's a little shorter than the average guy, and he's in the Netherlands where people tend to be a little taller. Oh fuck, DC, you and I've talked about this, right? Because I tore my biceps tendon, and I got the scars. They don't show up very well here, do they? How do I do this? Okay. I don't know if you can see the scars. Anyway, my tendon was up in here in my shoulder. They had to like dig all the way up in here, pull it down, and then they cabled it into my arm here. Anyway, so Tiny Captain does some anti-flat Earth stuff. We see Tiny Captain over at Slim's a lot, but I think his schedule isn't meshing with that, something like that. But anyway, do not tear your distal biceps tendon. It hurts like hell. It actually felt like I was getting an electric shock, which I sadly know what that is like. Yeah, DC. Yeah, you can say that again. The flat earthers are wild. They're fucking crazy. And that was like one of the things I wanted to address. So the Michelson-Morley experiment, because they could not detect an ether wind, led us to further down the line come up with relativity. Albert Einstein, one of the key people in there, but there are lots of other physicists who were involved, and it's fantastic. Purple tore her Achilles tendon. Yeah, no, that would suck. Ember, good to see you. So wonderful that you could come by. I love it. I love it. Thank you for coming, Ember. So Ember's channel, she's on the Transpositions Network kind of thing. I call it the network because it sort of feels like you're watching like a news network when you're watching that. And so Ember, her channel is really good at dealing with bad takes on science, bad takes from religious, like just from shitty religious people, right? Oh yeah, please do lick and describe my channel. Slim is streaming at the same time my wife comes home from, yeah, there you go, messes up. Yeah, so there you go. But Captain's been able to explain to us why the earth isn't flat from a waterborne workers point of view, because he tests boats for a living, basically. He's a certified sea captain. And we've shared some photos back and forth. Actually, he was moving a tugboat, and I took a couple of pictures of some tugs that were down at a site I was delivering a crane or a hoe to. I don't remember which. I might have done both, actually. I think that site I've taken a lot of machines to and from. But yeah, there's a lot of people to follow. So yeah, Ember's channel is fantastic. If you want to see sort of anti shitty religious people and anti young earth creation, anti bad science, anti control and cult, right? Doug Wood and Octavia, huge religious man. Oh, no, I don't. Went to this world changer. Oh, I don't know about that, DC. DC, like you're like, so this is the interesting thing. So before I go off shilling everybody's channel, and Sarah, do you do content? And it's good to have you. I love that people are coming from DCs to come check stuff out. So the interesting thing for me is that there's this intersection of all of this, right? So religious manipulators, hate preachers, people in MLM are very similar. People in flat Earth, people in Aether cosmology, people in like just shilling bad science, people that are just like making wild claims about all sorts of shit, people that are pushing like a really, really terrible, hateful, I'm going to say like racist, xenophobic, just sort of terrible, shitty agenda, right? Um, yeah, purple. You're right. MLMs do functions like religious cults. So like, there's the, and just because there's new people watching, and because you never know, when it's somebody's first stream. Sarah, it might be your first. I don't remember seeing your name, Sarah, but like if you've been watching some of my other streams, you might have heard me say this. I don't say it every time, but I worked for a very short time. I worked for some people that had Scientology as like one of their sort of guiding principles, which I didn't realize until I was a couple of months in there. I worked there for about 6 months, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It was around half a year. In the first 3 months, I thought everything was basically sort of okay, and then a couple of small things went wrong, and they started blaming weird things, and I was like, oh, and they had me come in, and they started telling me about Scientology, and they're like, one of the first things they said is, don't fucking listen to what they say about us on the internet. That's all lies. Scientology is really good, and we have all these great principles. Yeah. So and a lot of my sort of pushback has been against not specifically Scientology, but when I started looking into Scientology to figure out what it was, because I'd heard of it. I've heard of L. Ron Hubbard and all this stuff, and I knew it was kind of like maybe not so good, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand what a cult was as much, and I had sort of escaped religion to a point because I grew up in a religious-ish family, but my mom wasn't super into it. But she went to church every Sunday, and she took us to church every Sunday, and she worked at a church, helping do their accounting and stuff. So it was kind of weird, right? But she grew up going to church. And her mother was into it. Her father was not. I found out later when I became an atheist, like a sort of a practicing atheist, if you will, where I was like talking about being an atheist. I managed to like, talk to my mom about it and stuff like that. My dad, not a big fan of religion. But my dad was, and this is weird because I know I talked about my dad being abusive and somebody was an alcoholic. But here's the thing. This is really, really important. Is that you can be more than one thing. You can be an alcoholic and treat people shitty and still have good ideas. My dad taught me to respect people for who they are. And I've said this before. It's so strange that my father would say things that were racist and things that were off color about people, but it's just like a joke to him. He thought it was okay to say these things. But he also taught me from a young age, don't judge people on their color, don't judge them on their religion, their race, their culture, their language. Treat everybody with respect because they're all people. They're all he told me from a young age, they're just getting up, putting their pants on, going out to make a fucking living. And it's an important distinction to say that just because he treated his own demons, if you will, and I don't believe in demons because I'm an atheist, but he treated the things that were bugging him. And I know his father treated him the same way. He was trying to raise me the way his parents did raise him in order to make me a good person because he thought that was the right way to do it. But he was also an alcoholic. So he would go too far and he would say shitty things and he didn't put things together properly sometimes when he wasn't in a good state. And yet he was a very kind and affable sort of person who had a lot of friends and a lot of people cared deeply about him. And when he died and we ended up having 2 memorial services for him. So many people came and said so many great things, but it really, really fucking sucked to have the abuse mixed in with the love. It kind of sucks, right? And I see that, Sarah. I'm really sorry that you lost your brother and your dad was an alcoholic. It sucks. It really sucks when you love people who are trying to treat themselves. And it's something else I've had a lot of intersectionality with is substance abuse, mental health. It's something I care about a lot. So I sort of have 2 main things. I'm trying to stop people from treating people shitty for bad reasons. And it's fucked up because we don't treat mental health properly. And so many people have addictions because they're trying to deal with mental health problems that our health systems won't deal with, that they don't care about. And I live with obesity. So many of you are posting such sad, terrible things, and my condolences to all of you and your families for losing these people. And Purple, I'm really sorry too, that your father, I mean, and that's the thing, is your father certified war hero in World War II, but his own family was an asshole. Like, this is the thing that happens, and it's been going on for generations. You can sort of tell if Purple's father was in World War II. My grandfather was in World War II. My other grandfather was too old to go to war because it was a bit of a weird timing thing. But because of the way they hit the depression and the war, my grandfather and grandmother on the one side were like kind of a half a generation older than the other side. Um, yeah, no, DC, thank you so much for sharing this, and I'm so like my love goes out to all of you, and I want to say, DC, thank you for sharing that you went to be a patient in a psychiatric hospital, right? Um, and DC, like, I know, like, it may not be something you want to share publicly. I know in a members only stream you shared some of this, and I listened to that with great, it was a heavy heart listening to it, but also like the light of knowing that people were speaking up, and that you're speaking up too, and sharing it with a few people, even if you're not in a position to share it with everyone. It really is hard to share this really, really difficult process that people go through. And I've been, by happenstance, by luck, um, with a lot of things. I've managed to escape substance abuse by pushing it away on my own. For It took me 3 years. It took me 3 years to go from when I first said I am no longer going to be an alcoholic to when I stopped drinking. And I met my wife about a year after I'd quit, which was really good. And my wife had also pretty much quit drinking. I think in the time that I've known my wife, she's had maybe 10 drinks, and we've been together for over 20 years. And she seems to not have the problem that I have at all, by any means. Um, but yeah, my wife and I don't drink. My wife has a social drink once a year, maybe twice a year at the most. Um, and I don't drink. I don't drink at all. I don't touch alcohol. But I deal with mental health issues, and I deal with physical health issues. And when I when I retired from running my own business to become a truck driver, so I could still make some money and have a vocation, that something I could do, and something simple, in comparison. And being a heavy haul trucker does take a lot of sort of brain power and effort and knowledge, and it's a specialized thing, but it's very straightforward. The problems that come up are easy. Um, and so what I found in changing this is that I've had time to think about the things that have really been bugging me, and about my own issues, and I've been able to see the problems in the health system, and complain about it. And luckily enough, the complaints reached some people at Obesity Canada and at Diabetes Action Canada. So despite the fact that I live with diabetes and I live with obesity, I'm now able to talk about how hard it is to live with those things. And I can talk about living with a single kidney, because I was born that way, and the issues I've had with my kidneys, and the issues I've had with my breathing, and having asthma, and having had this terrible lung infection. It's like put me down for the count for over 2.5 months. I'm gonna hit 3 months really, really soon. It's basically next week, and I want to get better. I want to get better really soon. Yeah. No, and you know what? I see you guys talking about alcohol addiction and abuse, and also like how alcohol can be used socially too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with alcohol. There's nothing wrong with certain drugs, but it's really, really important to take a minute and sit down and ask yourself why you're doing that, because there's nothing wrong with these things. But if you're doing that, right? If you're doing that, and yeah, in purple, I want to read out what you said here, but I just want to finish this thought. But you know the the experience I've had meeting other people going through the same thing I'm going through in person, and giving these people a hug, and understanding how much love and compassion they have, and also that they need. We all we all have something weighing on us. We all have things that have changed our lives, in one way or another. And when we're really young, we can't even make sense of it. Now that I've become older and I don't have to run a business all the time, because the basic thing is like a time like this, like downtime like this where I'm sick, I would have been on the phone. I would have been on my computer. I would have just hopped in my truck and driven to a job site and checked it out. Back then, even if I couldn't do anything to help, I would go there to, I would do some supervising. I'd go pick up materials. I would never have let myself sit and recover ever when I ran my own business. I would have just dove into something I could still do, and I would have still been efficacious to a point. I mean, there was a couple of weeks there where all I could do was sit there and sleep and let them pump oxygen into me. But once that was over, like I know my recovery this time, where I've been able to just sit and rest and read a book, listen to a podcast, listen to YouTube things, and get better enough that I can participate. This has been really, really good. Hey, Bree, good to see you. And people may or may not realize that there's like a whole bunch of people from the LGBTQIA plus community in my side chat here, and there's people that aren't. And the great thing is that so many of them they support each other both ways. It's fucking awesome. It's just fucking awesome. And I did want to point out that although people in that community can be a community of their own, they're also part of my community. That those differences, the fact that I'm a cis hetero, like, and also like some people might say like ultra weird caricature of a masculine man being a truck driver and a biker and good with my hands and stuff like that, and kind of having a deep voice and being a tough motherfucker in some ways. But all of that is true, but I'm still a human being. I still have emotions. I still have thoughts, and I have emotional feelings. I feel sad. I feel broken sometimes, right? I feel broken too much of the time. Just being a man in our society doesn't mean that you're somehow like immune to all this shit, right? But as men, and this is the thing, is I've decided to step up, because men will not step up and say, I hurt when this happens. A lot of men will step up and be hurtful, but that doesn't make you a man. That makes you an asshole. We don't need more fucking assholes. Tori, so good to see you. So good to see you. And yes, Amber, you're right. All of us, we're human. We're human first, right? Our wedding tackle does not define who we are, but we let that happen, right? Something men can cry too. Yeah, men can cry. You know what? And I've cried. I've had things in my life that have made me very sad, and things make me sad every day. I don't let the tears flow every day, but it's good. It's good to be able to admit that you're sad, that you're hurt. And I'm on medication for depression. So I'm suffering from depression. I'm suffering from anxiety. I'm suffering from plantar fasciitis. I have type 2 diabetes. I live with obesity. I have arthritis. I have asthma. I have this weird nerve condition from having crushed discs in my back. I was born with a single kidney, so I have kidney disease as well, and I've had a kidney stone that I was recovering from this spring. I have this lung infection that's an acute condition. It was just bad luck, and my asthma probably made it a lot worse than it needed to be. And have been dealing with a partially collapsed lung and shit like that stopped me from working. It's been kind of shitty. I have all that physical stuff, but the depression, the anxiety, all that stuff weighs on me. And then I also have living in a society where I need to be the man. I need to step up. I need to be an earner. I need to be this, right? And having just one kidney has been really difficult. And when something goes wrong, so I've been in kidney failure once, thankfully just once. Being in kidney failure sucks. It's the most shitty thing I've ever been through in my life, is being in kidney failure. And I've never felt so sick in my life. But they were able to fix that by just going in and clearing the pipes out and letting everything move again. It took me a few days to recover. I was walking with a cane for about a week. It was kind of weak after being in the hospital, but I've been walking with a walker and a cane for a couple of months now. Today I went out without a cane or a walker. And I've done it before. I knew I only had short walks to make. So in going to my son's school, I was able to make a quick walk, and I actually felt pretty good. And then I also had a walk into the drugstore. So I grabbed the shopping cart as soon as I got in the door. So the shopping cart's kind of as good as a walker, except it has no brakes. Also, I went out on my motorcycle because it had rained overnight, but it's been dry enough. So anyway, I cannot tell what everything is going on in the chat. It's been moving fast here. Purple, no, right now it doesn't look like I need a kidney transplant. And thank you for that question. I know people that do need and have had kidney transplants. We are exceedingly lucky to live where we can do this, where kidney transplants are an option, heart transplants, lung transplants. I don't think we've gotten to brain transplants yet, but there's a joke in there somewhere. I don't think I'm going to go there though. But it's really, really exciting to me that we live in a time when we can communicate with each other about good ideas, and we can push back against bad ones. But the bad ones get some big bullhorns out there. And I'm not gonna go into it because I don't want to talk about politics, because politics has been like just rattling around in my brain like a fucking, I don't know. What do you call those little metal spiky things that they use to like stop people's tires? They pop them, the cops throw them out there. It feels like one of those is like ripping through my brain. So yeah. Oh, you put up a new fence there. You know what, Dave? If when you say manned up, I get what you're saying. Fucking, I saw you post about your fence. That's awesome, Dave. I've built a few fences in my life. But I tell you what, who scared Binky? Me? Sumami? Sumami, so good to see you too. So a spike strip, but I meant they have these little, like, they look like ninja stars. Is it offensive to say ninja star? I hope not. But they're like these little, do you remember the game Jax where they had like the little things that were like crisscrossed all over? They're like that, but they're sharp things. Jester, the Lord of Shenaniganery. So good to see you. Sumami, I'm glad to have you here. Sumami is sometimes the voice of reason, and sometimes the voice of fuck this shit. And we need some of that. If brain transplants were a thing, people would insist on replacing mine with Abby's. Who's Abby? Jester, who's Abby? Why do I not know who Abby is? Is that your partner? I don't fucking know. They're called caltrops, designed so that no matter how they fall, they're always. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Purple politics of the entire world have been ripping through my brain like this. Abby Normal? What the fuck is Abby Normal? What the fuck? I don't know. I'm missing. There's an in joke with the community. Like I've thought I was a part of, but I don't fucking know. Oh, that's great. Abby Normal. I don't know what Abby Normal is. Anyway, I don't want to fucking be normal. It's a movie reference. Okay. All right. I'm out of the loop. Young Frankenstein. Okay. I thought I'd seen Frankenstein. Maybe I saw the first Frankenstein, the old Frankenstein. Daddy Frankenstein. But Frankenstein was Frankenstein was the scientist, right? It was Mary Shelley wrote that book, I think. Yeah, I should check that out. Yeah, Frankenstein, the most recent Frankenstein I've seen is the one from what's that movie with Adam Sandler and I think the girl from, where is she from? She's not a girl anymore. She's a woman from Selena Gomez. She's like a bat Frankenstein person, and her dad is played by Adam Sandler, is a bat Frankenstein kind of person, or a bat vampire, and then their best buds are Frankenstein. And then she grows up and gets married to like a normal person, quote unquote normal. I mean, normal's kind of offensive, isn't it? Well, I'm certainly not fucking normal. We're all people. Anyway, I am really glad to not need a kidney transplant, let me tell you. So I'll have to go watch this Young Frankenstein. All of you know about this great joke, so obviously it was worth seeing. Parody based on his nephew repeat. Okay, very good. Freak like me. Bree, why are you not in the moderator list? I'm putting you in here. I'm putting you in here. I'm a mod on your channel, so you should be a mod on mine. And also I know you would stop bullshit. Anyway, Jester, so good to see you. It feels like a hop in chat. I know I'm not a big channel, but having 11 people watching at once is pretty cool. I did have this weird thing where I did one of the weird live ones from my phone, and I got like 1,000 views. That was weird. But yeah, people just come out of the woodwork when I do those weird ones from my phone. But it must be just the way they're done. You're blue, yes, Jester. I made you into a mod because I know you're the Lord of Shenaniganery, and we need more Shenaniganery around. DC's side chat is a fun time. It's a different mix of people. But now that and so just so people know the story, Dr. Tapp and I were just having a chat as friends about nothing in particular. He's like, "Oh, where are you? What are you doing? What are you up to?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm over in DC's chat. I'm tired of listening to people complain about the religious right taking over religion or taking over politics." Which it needs to be talked about, but I can only you know what? After 30 hours of that a week, I'm done. And I feel like it's only Wednesday. I've had my 30 hours already, and I was complaining about it myself on Joe's channel last night, Kentucky Atheist. He does a great show. Yeah, Terry Gard has passed away. Terry Gard, great actor. Was in a lot of stuff in the 70s and the early 80s, in particular. And she played the wife of John Denver's character in the Oh God movies. Great Knockers. Did she have Great Knockers? This has got to be like another reference. Anyway, is saying Knockers offensive? I don't know. DC, it is when you know what, and that's the thing. So DC's chat, and I don't want to go down the road of everybody having a bad time, but like it's the same movie. Okay. I guess I got to see this parody movie to the Great Knockers. Anyway, I don't want people to think I'm a red-blooded Canadian guy, and I like women, but I don't want to offend them. I think it's possibly sexually attracted to people that you respect, right? Oh, Gene Wilder, fuck yeah, Gene Wilder is. He was also in. We used to have him on our $10 bill, and also he was in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he's in a movie with Richard Pryor that was really funny. I forget what it was called. See No Evil, something like that. Watch Young Frankenstein for Halloween. It's mostly kid friendly. Okay, cool. I'll check that out, Dave. I think my son wants to go out, and my daughter's having friends over for Halloween. So we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, and we live out in the sticks, so like everybody's got to drive over to our place from the different villages and towns they live in. So it's gonna be fun. I don't know if I'm gonna be hosting the young ladies here and keeping them from setting the place on fire, or if I'm taking my son out for the trick or treat thing. Or it might be both. My son will probably only do it for like half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, you know what? Like nobody comes and takes candy from us. We'll put a bowl out, but like we're out in the middle of nowhere. And also suggested we try the trunk or treat. Gene Wilder and Cash Can is actual funny money. So yeah, it's a joke, Ember, but who the fuck was on that? Okay, I need to new tab, and I'll do this here. Canadian $10 bill. Gene Wilder. It's for Americans. Okay, $10 bill. So now we have this other woman on here now. Was her name Viola something? It's so we have a I forget the name of this woman. See, I'm terrible at my own politics and stuff. But I wanted to find like an old $10 bill. Here it is. This isn't it here. I gotta share it once I find the right one. There's the Queen all over something. That's New Zealand money. No, this isn't Canadian. No. $10 bill. The Canadian $10 bill. These are American $10 bills. There's Ben Franklin. Holy fuck, there's a lot of them here. So there's this one. That's an older one. Trying to find one that just had Gene Wilder. Here we go. Here we go. This is it. Okay. Where are we? That's my intro music. Okay, so I got to do this. Here we go. Is this it? Here we go. Share. Okay. I'll come back to you guys here. Okay. So you guys see this? So people used to say this was Gene Wilder. They're not so far off. Anyway, this is one of the newer ones. But we switched to having Viola something, I think. Funny movie with some sexual innuendos. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, Purple. My kids can get sexual innuendos now, so it's a little scary. Joe, how are you doing? Good to see you, Joe. Aren't that basically most kids friendly? Yeah. Showed a pair of boobs once in a while. You know what? I mean, the first thing you show a kid is a boob. I mean, what's the harm? You know. Anyway, I don't put a one in the chat if you think this looks like Gene Wilder. Okay, I stopped. Okay. So you know what? And Captain, in North America, boobs are like a major fucking problem, especially like the U.S. part of America. Is like almost every woman has two boobs, but you're not allowed to see. You're allowed to see everything but the nipple. And I think is it pronounced areola? The areola in the nipple from a woman is like just a major fucking problem. But I could like pull my shirt up. Like I could do this right now. Look, nipples. Nobody gives a shit, you know? But like if like one of the ladies was on here with me and they did that, holy shit, the world would come to a fucking end. But you know what? Like, and I'm not saying that I haven't developed a certain admiration, but you know, here's the thing. They're just boobs. They're used to feed children, and yes, as a sort of heterosexual man, I find them sexually attractive. All right, I'm sorry. They turn me on. I know they probably shouldn't, but they do. I don't know what it is. I might be just wired that way. I think maybe we all are. Anyway, the one thing that I found is that like straight men and lesbian women, like we should get along a lot better than we do because we have very similar taste in women. At least from the experiences I've had talking to lesbian women. Okay, so Tori said something interesting, and I can move myself away from women. I just don't want to offend anybody. I know someone who is dealing with some stuff with the health of a family member. Told her if she didn't live so far away, I'd be hanging out with just to confiscate the phone, stop googling shit, and put herself in a panic. That can be a problem, right? And they didn't have full nudity in a movie and sex, and it wasn't a Dutch movie. Yes, so yes, and so sorry, in DC, and so Bree is a pansexual woman. You agree? Double standard. It's frustrating that women and girls are made to feel they make people stumble and ask for it. You know what, DC? Like that fucking pisses me. Nothing pisses me off more than telling women it's their fault. Women get women are the victims of SA and all sorts of shit around the world, and so are men, by the way, and young boys in particular, but men. And so here's the thing. This is something I've said before, and I don't like to get like deep into the essay stuff because I like my channel isn't really about that. I also have never directly experienced it, but I know people that have, and I am Sumami's being silly, but fuck, I shouldn't laugh when I'm talking about such a serious topic, but this is something that has a deep and lasting effect on people, and it's really terrible. And it's not sexual. It's not sexual at all. It's about control. That's something I've learned about. It's something I found myself being pretty old in my 40s when someone explained to me someone told me about an assault that they had received, and I'm like, that seems so weird because like I mean because they'd been fondled in an area but by like through closing with gloves on and stuff like that. It was I believe it was a police officer was involved in this. And they're like, no, it's just about control. It's just about making you feel bad, right? Um that's fucking a shitty thing to do to someone, right? Because I think someone had what? Oh Jesus. Okay. I don't know. I'm not going to repeat everything that's in the side chat because I don't want to. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But I do appreciate people are sharing some stuff here. So anyway, I don't know what's going on. You assume half of this room is flipped. Holy shit. Well, Sumami, possibly. I don't know. Um I recommend if you're into Sumami's content, you go check it out. I believe it is top notch. I have never checked it for myself, and I consider Sumami to be a friend, and I would like to keep it that way. Full nudity in a Dutch movie didn't have to be women, and the sex didn't have to be hetero. It had to be have sex and nudity. Be a movie in the Netherlands. Okay, lies everyone has. Okay, all right. Well, Sumami, you can choose to believe me or not. But it's just the way it is. But my point about it is that these things are so far removed from what we might call sexual gratification. They're about power, they're about control. But they're thought of as being a part of sexuality, and I think they're part of something broken and messed up in people. And I don't like it. I don't understand it, and I don't have like a background in it. I don't have a background in psychology. I don't understand where this comes from. And I don't want to power and control people. I'd like to encourage people to be the best person they can be. And being the best person you can be is probably not about taking control of other people's lives and being fucking weird. Being the best person you can be is about taking control of your own life and doing good things for yourself and others. And that's what I've that's sort of what I've decided to do by having some influence on the medical community and speaking up for myself and other patients. And the reason I speak up for myself as a man is because men in my position don't speak up for themselves. Um, and I also think it's important to point out when it comes to these SA things, they really affect people's mindset. And men also will not speak up about that. Men who have experienced something like that feel like it's something that only happens to women, and somehow they've been diminished because we actually have in our culture this idea that women are somehow lesser than men, and that seems to come a lot from religious bullshit. And I tell you one thing, I have yet to meet a woman who is lesser than any man. There are some shitty people out there that have shitty ideas, and I don't know where they come from, but okay. Oh, and yeah, Dave, you've got pictures of a pile of scrap garbage and an old tire. Yes, yes. Well, there you go. And you know what? And Sumami, you're right. People are weirdos. People are weirdos. And I mean, I'm my own kind of weirdo, and I appreciate that people are here to watch my weird. Um, but my main thing is that we should treat each other with respect and compassion and understanding and empathy, and understand not everybody lives the same life. We all have these different experiences. We all have different places we've come from, and we some of us have some like big similarities in things, but there's things about us that are like completely different, right? Um, and so we have people have different cultural and language backgrounds, and they have different religious backgrounds, but they also have different, like, our work, what we do for a living can affect how we see the world and how we interact with the world. So I think certain people, like, if you work, like, doing the work I do, like, I don't interact with people a lot in a day. I'll meet a couple of people, talk to somebody on the phone. A lot of times I'll work totally on my own, and I'll see a couple of people in the yard. I'll see my dispatcher and stuff. At the end of the day when I'm at work, I'll like hand in a piece of paper. But sometimes I'm in before they start. Like, they work a 12-hour shift. They work 6 to 6 most days in the office. So if you need help from my office to get somebody to truck something for you, you've got a 12-hour window to talk to somebody live, and there's like an emergency line as well. Um, um, so here's the thing. I don't have the customer service experience with people. When I ran my own business, I guess I did a little bit, but it was here and there, right? I'd go to a meeting with a customer. Mostly the customer didn't care to talk to me multiple times in a week or a day. I'd check in with them a couple of times, right? And then all I do is I just come into their place, get their stuff done, and hand it over at the end. Have meetings with them as needed. But I can imagine somebody that works like in like a retail sort of space or like a restaurant space, or someone who's like doing like food service type work, like as a waiter type thing. I've never really done that. I did some bartending at an event, and I got the hang of what it would be, but I can't fucking do that. But working in a restaurant is like a lot of fucking work. What is this Tsumami talking about working in a restaurant? What? I don't know. I know what you mean by that, Tsumami, but you'll explain yourself. Um, I did in high school, would never again. Yeah, and and Sumami works in an industry that, and Sumami, if you don't want me to talk about it, I won't. But Sumami works in an industry that a lot of people have a problem with, but it's an important industry that provides a service that's needed and wanted by many. But people put it down for some reason, which really sucks because Sumami is like an absolute powerhouse of great speaking up for people and being a good fucking person, right? Sarah, you worked at a restaurant at Legoland. Yeah, it would be hard, right? Especially like families coming in and like the disarray of like, because like I can only imagine. Like, I want to take my kid to Legoland. He's a big Lego fan. I'm a big Lego fan. I'm probably a bigger Lego fan than he is. But like, I could totally see like from taking my kids to Disney in 2017 when they were younger, going to a place like Legoland and just like I've taken them to the little Lego place near Toronto. Squirrel, I'm a modern day demi-monde. Is it demi-monde? Demi-monde. Like I speak French as well, so I want to say demi-monde, but I'm not sure that's how that's pronounced. I do nothing but yap. You know what, Sumami? A lot of people pay good money for that. The industry would never do my job is one of the most affirming things I've ever heard in a month. Jester, Jester, do I know what you do? I don't know. We're doing Lego at next year's NocoCon. And Noco's like a fuel company around here, so that can't be what it is. Anyway, I tell you what, NocoCon could not be a conference for just the people that work at one small fuel delivery company in my province. So you work at Domino's. Oh fuck. So you're a Dom too, eh? Too much work. You know what? We often get our pizza from Domino's because I mostly do gluten free to protect my innards that don't do well with gluten. If you want to know about gluten, check out John Panette, a fellow and rest in peace, John Panette. John Panette, a fellow person living with obesity. North County Comic Con. Ember, you know what? Ember, I believe she organizes conferences of that ilk. I don't know if you're still doing that, Ember. I know Ember's a fellow trucker, right? So Ember's a trucker. Dave, why do I fucking forget what Dave does or did? Dave, you did something. Dave, you and I have talked about what you do, and I don't fucking remember it. But yeah, working in food service has to be really hard. The times I've done it to like help run an event, like as a bartender or serving people, it's fucking intense. And I've never done it to make a living. I've just done it to like help friends. Like I've done it. I did it like my brother-in-law's like stag and dough party. I was the bartender there, right? Like it's a lot of fucking work. And I've done it. I think I've helped people. I did it a couple of like art shows where they get a liquor license and I help people serve drinks. I'm probably better as a bouncer than I am as a bartender. And I have done also like unofficial security work because I'm big enough to fucking do it. But I've never done that. Like I've never worked like at a nightclub or a bar. I've just helped people keep the peace, if you will. Yeah, DC, you're right. You use up a lot of bandwidth in customer service jobs, and this is interesting. Like, and I'm gonna roll off of this soon because I have a call coming up, and I got to get a couple of things done. I always say that, and like I'm gonna eat something. I'm gonna get some more artwork done, and DC, you and I have to talk. So DC, do you do like voice calls on Discord, because that's a good way for me to organize shit with people. Because I'm a talker. I'm not a good texter. I'm a good talker. So DC, let me know if that's something you would do to help organize. Hey, Aunt Jer, they call them stag party, stag and doe. UKers call them women one hen parties. The women one hen party. Yeah, hen party. So Aunt Jer, I call a hen party like anytime just the girls get together. It's like my wife goes out to like one of her girlfriends' houses and they like sit around and have coffee and tea and chat. I say like, how is the hen party? Um, is that a misogynistic thing to say? It might be. It's like part of our vernacular. But yeah, we a hen party's not a the stag and doe is um so we have stags or bachelor parties are for like the guy and his friends to go just the guys. The bachelorette, they don't the bachelor or stagette they have for the girls to all go together and I mean everybody's seen these things put up as like an absolute ridiculous party of like the men go to a strip club and do crazy stuff. I have one buddy. I think that his brother paid the stripper like he gave her like a $200 cash tip to write on him with a fucking Sharpie. Um and I think she like pulled his pants down and wrote on his ass, if I remember correctly. I would left because I had to go to work the next day, so I didn't see that part. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't join you guys at the strip club, but I had beers. Like I didn't drink at the time, but I had beers with them at the pub, and then they went, and I was just like, I got to drive home, and I got to wake up in the morning. If Jay and Sang weren't in gather, Jay and Sang weren't in gather, then it's a hen house. Okay. Do you guys know the old song? I know you don't want to hear me sing. Oh, Tori, good to see you. Good to see you. And Aunt Jer, good to see you too. Glad you're able to join in. There's a song by Neil Diamond that goes you're so sweet, horseflies keep hanging around your face. Kentucky moonshine could never take your place. And your eyes, they give me goosebumps right down to my toes. I feel like the only rooster in the hen house, and I guess it shows. Um And I think of that song every time someone talks about a hen house. That's the way this thing's wired up here, right? And it's so good to see so many people here. What are the dates? I look into most likely can't afford 1,000 mile drive. Yeah, yeah. Purple, you're up in. Are you in Minnesota? Purple, I'm not fucking that up, am I? Anyway, yeah. You know what? It would be what would be amazing is like the people that come to my chat to my streams, people that come to DC. DC does a great show. Purple Rhymes with Orange does a great show. Dave does a great show. Sumami, if you want to see cat pictures on the internet, you gotta see Sumami's channel. And Tori doesn't make content from what I recall. I know Aunt Jer sells shirts and cool stuff with great messaging on it. You still do that, right? Jester works at Domino. Jester, do you do shows and I don't even know it? I don't know. I found out and Bree. Oh, you gotta check out Bree. So hi Sai. Bree is also on. Bree and Ember and Stephanie Helms and Carly, and I think maybe some other people are on the transposition. So you want to find out about trans rights, you want to find out about trans issues, you want to find out about bullshit that people say. Um, that's important shit. Purple is all ears presented male. The women, especially lesbians, always invited me to hang out with them. Yeah, no. So purple is purple. I don't want to misidentify what you are. So if you want to share what that is, but I've been under the impression that purple rhymes with orange is a trans woman. So a woman. Hey Wendy, good to see you. Good to see you. One of these shows is not exactly in a safe place. Well, Jester, we do not want you to be unsafe. But I would be happy to work security for people if they need it to be able to do what they need to do. Oh, you're working there, Joe. That's good. That's good. So yeah, well, listening to me it might hurt your brain a little bit, Joe. But thanks for having me on your show last night. I enjoyed being able to like say my piece a little bit while I was playing some games. Um, you're a trans woman. You were spent 56 years forced to pretend to be a man. Yeah, like um, it's tough. It's tough to not feel comfortable in your body. I don't know if it's the same. Like I feel uncomfortable being myself in a different way, right? It's not a gender thing. I feel very comfortable being male. I feel very uncomfortable being enormous, because I feel like I'm not welcome. I feel like people wish I would go away. I feel like I feel like I'm not represented in a positive light ever. You know, being and I think like I try to use that as a way to find empathy for somebody who's struggling with something else, right? Um, I would hate to feel like I'm making someone else's life as hard as I feel like my life is in those terms, in terms of like how uncomfortable I feel in society, knowing that people wish I didn't exist because my big body kind of fucks up their photos, um, being fat and stuff isn't fun, right? And Sumami, I absolutely we do not wish you would go away, because you know what, Sumami is intense, okay? But you need that intensity when you're fighting against certain things. And I'm never going to forget a number of months ago when people were trying to talk to people that were just being fucking assholes, and Tsunami just fucking got out there and said, "What the fuck? This is bullshit," right? Um, and Sarah, your husband's in the military and a rough crowd to feel like you fit in. You know what? And Sarah, I'm going to say something that people may disagree with. And I'm not saying this is true because I have very few interactions with people in the military. I have one family member that I'm semi close with who's been in the military. In Canada, being in the military is a popular thing for certain groups, and the group I grew up with, it just wasn't a thing. It wasn't where people were going. Very few people did, and yeah, I absolutely get that. Sarah and DC are going to be on the same page there. I have heard people describe the military service, and having been in the military as like being in a cult, because there is like this sort of like um, mentality of being all together. And I'm quite certain Ember, she was in the military and served. I do not remember who else here might have been in the military. I'm positive Ember was, and so Ember may have some insight from her experience serving. About what it's like to be like, the military person. You were in the Navy, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's interesting to look at. Like when I was a young kid, I wanted nothing more than to be in the military. I thought being a jet fighter pilot would be just amazing. And it was partly because of like Top Gun, but also G.I. Joe and stuff like that I played with, and also like watching the stuff um, that was really popular. Like Star Wars was all about war and military people, mostly sort of the misfits, and of course, there's that great movie. Wendy, so good to see you too. By the way, I don't know if I said hello to Wendy yet. Um, Fuck. Joe, I get what you're saying. Flying is exactly as cool as it seems. You know what? I have flown an airplane a couple of times because I took flying lessons. I did ground school. I completed and passed ground school for being a private pilot, and I ran out of excess cash. Well, I never had excess cash, but I ran out of enough cash to pay for avgas, which is the fuel you use in an airplane. And just flying a single engine airplane is very expensive. It was very expensive when I did it, which was almost 20 years ago. I remember a lot of stuff I learned. It's one of many reasons why flat earthers drive me fucking crazy, because they're so fucking wrong. And they make claims about pilots and airplanes and stuff that are just way off base, and I know they're wrong. And I have a bag full of books and stuff. I might start pulling those books out. I might grab that bag of books because I've kept them. I paid good money for them, and the stuff in them is still true. The physics of flying has not changed in the last 20 years. It's the same fucking thing. The way the glass cockpit has changed, but that's the only thing. The analog gauges for the main six, I think, is still there. Helicopter school is expensive. So Aunt Jer, I wanted to go to helicopter school, and I was granted an acceptance, but I had already agreed to work with my dad, and I had signed up with him for 5 years, and I was going to go after that, but I ended up working 28 years in construction. And yeah, I would. I wonder too if I could get smaller if I could fly. If I could fly a C-17, hellos, yeah, pretty dang cool. Yeah, I can only imagine, Sarah. I haven't been in military aircraft other than at like a museum, so I don't know much about them. I've been in general aviation and in commercial airplanes of a few different types. So I've been in little twin engine, like little puddle jumper type planes. I've been in single engine planes, flying myself with an instructor, and I've been in like really big commercial airliners. But that's and you know what? I don't like flying. Not I'm not afraid of it. But I don't fit in an airplane seat. I don't fit in two airplane seats for general aviation. Like I weighed less then, but I still they had to pick certain airplanes that I could fly in because of the weight limits, because me and one other person would push us over in some planes. There's sometimes if warplanes get in, yeah, that would be really cool, Ember. Yeah, Wendy, that would suck, right? Medical record, and I don't know if I could get a medical clearance to become a pilot or not. The helicopter probably survived several flights. Probably. Thank you, Purple. I agree. I probably need some money to pay for the materials and stuff, but Purple, that's awesome. I used to pretend to be a helicopter. Okay. Um. Okay. Tell me if you've ever pretended to be a motorboat. Put a two in the chat if you've ever done the motorboat thing. And that's harkening back to the boob conversation in case you didn't get the reference. Um, I got to put a two in the chat here, right? I got to start it, right? Jester, yes. There we go. Yeah, because this is going off of Joe saying he used to pretend to be a helicopter. Yes, flying is neat. Takeoff and landing parts, I don't care about. You know what? I don't like taking off in a general aviation aircraft is really easy. Landing is like it's tricky. You got to balance out a few things. It's pretty easy to do, but it's fucking crazy. You've done it more times than the entire room combined, but I'm on the other end of the yeah. You know what, Sumami? Like, so Sumami, you can put a four. You can put a four in the chat if you want to. You did it last night. Awesome, awesome. Thank you. I've never flicked my bean to Sumami. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't have a bean. Never flicked it, and you know what? But you know what? Sumami's beautiful. So, if you're into that, she just might be exactly what you're looking for. And I want Sumami to have, lots of customers. How's that sound? Sarah's been in a C-17, C-130, KC something helicopter. Been in an AWAC, not in the air. Been in a lot. That's the perk of yeah, no, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Military is more than a double-edged sword, right? There's a lot that goes on. We can certainly understand the men and women in the military. They're gonna see some shit, right? They're gonna go through some shit. They're gonna, a lot of it's really cool, but you're gonna see shit you don't want to see. And I think of like what some of the shit I've seen as a trucker, like some of the carnage I've seen on the road. Um, and I just see it what I happen upon. And think about like people that are first responders, what they see like every fucking day, because every time it happens, they just go towards it, right? And that's their job, is to go it, right? And yeah, pilots that can land and take off and land on an aircraft carrier, that is fucking cool. That is fucking cool. But again, relativity it all comes back again, right? You have to it's dynamic, it's hard, right? But you're learning how to do this, right? And if you practice something over and over and over again, you're gonna get fucking good at it, right? Like I've talked to people, including Dr. Tapp and I have talked about like what I do for a living, and I show him like the loads I have, and he's like, "How the fuck do you drive that down the road?" And I'm like, you practice doing it, and you fucking get good at it. That's the way it works. Mr. Desk loves being Mrs. Desk captive. News at the last page of the newspaper. Hey, you know what? I do want to say, like, I I am not at all a fan of people that are abusive. I'm not at all a fan of people that assault people. Um, but I am a fan of people having healthy sexual relationships. That's something that cults and religions and people they twist and they add fuckery to healthy sexual relationships, and they take away the healthy part, and they leave people in terrible situations for so many terrible fucked up things that they do to people in their mindset and stuff. And that is, it's just a terrible thing. You should be able to have a healthy, enjoyable sexual relationship with consensual partners. That's something that should exist, and it shouldn't be something we're afraid and ashamed to talk about. But religion and bullshit has just, it's just fucked. And Joe says my girlfriend won't let me buy your porn, even as a gesture. Yeah, I don't know if we're allowed. I don't know if we're allowed to say porn, but like, fuck, we just said porn. What the fuck are you gonna do? It rhymes with corn. Cornhole porn is the best kind. Maybe, I don't know. Go, or corn cob porn. I don't care what you do. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. That sounds like a really weird conversation. A really weird. I'm skeptical there's such a thing as a healthy sexual relationship. We've had to observe one. Ember, I hope that changes for you. I hope that changes for you. And like, I mean, for everyone, it might be a little different, right? Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Like, you should have the relationship you do or don't want to have. And I mean, like, the one you want to have, whatever that is, whatever it involves for you, you should be able to have that relationship and have it with the person you're involved with. I could presume it's your husband. I'm going to presume it's your husband, but that's between you and them. None of my business. Don't want to know about it. And just like you probably don't want to know about mine. And I know I was making a motorboat joke earlier, but like, that was just for fun. Hopefully people understand that. And yeah, and purple, and I'm really purple. I'm so sad. I'm so sad and so sorry that you lost your fiance, your life partner, and I know they were very very important and dear to you, and I know they had a long battle. Um, it's a very sad and terrible loss. But also, I'm glad you're still out here doing your thing. I'm glad you're still participating and being like one of the greatest community members. One of the, like, if people don't know, I know Maya mentioned this last night. I'm going to mention this, and I'm going to wrap this up. I spent 15 minutes wrapping it up and not wrapping up a fucking thing. Purple does at Christmas, and if she can't do it again this year, I know people will step up and do it with her and for her. Is the 48 hours of Christmas streaming to keep people busy, right? Keep people occupied and in a community during the Christmas season, and that was something that Purple has done for multiple years. Last year was the first year I got to see it, and I offered to participate. It didn't end up working out that I participated, but this year maybe I'll plan it out that I will. Sloth Girl is your companion. She died a few months ago. Yeah. So, but Sloth Girl was an important person to you, right? Purple show is on at 3. Yes. So that's coming up, right? That's in less than 2 hours. Or no, sorry, less than an hour and a half, right? It's almost 2. Yeah. A call-in show for sexual advice. Like, Joe, are you saying I need to find one and call in and ask them to tell me where to put it? Or are you saying that I should be taking people's calls and saying, I think this is where you put the corn cob? Taking 5 slots. Ember, I hope you're not talking about your bumping into the dock at the old warehouse there, because you've been doing this long enough. You don't need 5 slots. You can get in the 1. That's not a sexual joke. That's a trucker joke, by the way. Honestly loved education how Pearl Harbor led to the switch. Okay. Oh wow, yeah. What a great thing. And also, like, yeah, Purple at 3 sounds like, yeah. I think if you're up for it, I know I have a call coming up, and I got to get some work done. Because I got to have some stuff to talk about, and I want to after the call, I'm going to keep working. I'll probably be listening into people, and I definitely love listening to Purple's channel. And I've been on the panel there. Purple brings some great minds together to talk about things, and Purple has a Purple, if you don't mind explaining what it is, or even let us know what it is today. Um, there's going to be usually like a topic, like it's they, and they'll talk about that, but they'll also let it meander all over the place. It's a very fluid show. I love the show, but there's always something. I can't remember seeing it today. What it is today, but like it's the Mid America chats, and it's like about, I don't know. It's like, because I was talking about corn cobs, like the corn harvest festival of you know, mid middle Wisconsin or something. I don't know. It's not usually a Midwestern topic, but I'm just making it up. It's like it's classic car day. It's, I don't know, helicopter invention day or something. Purple has always some cool thing she's figured out about what's going on in the world, and she shares it with people, and a chat goes on, and sometimes it's very much on topic, and sometimes it meanders around. And one of the great things about Purple Show is she has some people on there that have some very random holidays. Yeah, yeah. National Treat Your Pets Day. Yeah, there you go. All right. So let me tapioca into one of those slots with you. Yeah, so, and you know what? And Jester, the Lord of Shenaniganery, uh Jester, I've seen you talk to people on a panel once or twice, but we usually see you in the side chat, I think. Um, and yeah, Purple's gone through a lot. Yeah, after the election's over, the fucking election. I'm not talking about politics. What I'm gonna say is, don't let fucking democracy fall to the people that don't want you to say your piece. You get out there and vote. I don't care who you're voting for. Get out there and fucking vote. One slot for each channel. Oh fuck! You know how most shows do an interview and then an after party. My show's basically the same, but we don't have a guest. Skip the interview. It's after party. Yeah, you're right. Purple. That's right. It's just like if you know Neil the 604 605. Fuck, I can't remember the area code for the Lower Mainland. The Lower Mainland is British Columbia. Neil the 604 Atheist is on every Saturday night, I think. Be Saturdays and Tuesdays. 604. Yeah, Neil the 604 Atheist. Excellent show. Fellow Canuck. And he's on the West Coast. So Neil the 604 Atheist is on. You go to therapy. Okay, DC, have fun. DC, we'll talk on DC. And we'll figure some shit out. And we'll do a show. We'll do a stream. DC and I will do a stream. We'll share the MLM fuckery, and we'll share the culty fuckery, and we'll talk about tunnel fuckery. We're going to talk about the TikTok tunnel lady and why she's fucked, doesn't know what to do. DC, have a great trip to therapy, and I hope it's great. I went to therapy yesterday. Maybe that's why I'm the way I am. Maybe I'm better today because I saw my therapist and she gave me some stuff to think about. So we'll end the show with this. Because this is what I'm thinking about. It's time for me to figure out what it is that I want and how I'm going to get there, and what that's going to mean. And part of that is the same time as your debate reviews. You really, yeah. So Ember's show, she does the debate thing with Mark Reed and you flip back and forth. I think, Ember, is that right, for Mark Reed? And Mark Reed did a trebuchet into DC's chat last night. Thank you, Mark. I know you're probably having to sleep or whatever it is fucking Aussies do down when they're on the. I mean, it must be hard to sleep upside down, but it must be fun too. Because you're sleeping with kangaroos and poisonous animals like snakes, spiders, and all sorts of other scary shit that can kill you. Kangaroos too, they just punch you right out. I saw a weird video of a guy like having a boxing match with kangaroos. Fucked up. Anyway, don't want to see that. You saw Mark's this week, so yeah, Mark Reed's a great promoter of content, and also just has great stuff, right? Where do we go from here? So yeah, in Purple, like major life change, like having myself knocked on my fucking ass by a disease. Like, I've been living with chronic disease and just sort of like muddling through, and I've had a couple of surgeries and recovered and gone back to work. Having this 3 months off of work because I can't fucking breathe and do my job came out of fucking nowhere. Like, I literally thought I was fighting the flu and went into this, and it fucked me right up. And so I've had to think about stuff. I've had to like reevaluate things, even though I'd already been reevaluating things. I thought I knew where I was going, and I'm supposed to get bariatric surgery, and I'm like, that's a big fucking mind fuck. What will happen what will happen if I start getting the body that I think I'm supposed to have? What would happen if I was quote unquote normal? What will change about my life? Yes, definitely go to YouTube and look for kangaroo parachute. One of the best videos you ever posted. I bet we'll see 7 great videos. I don't fucking know. I've never gone skydiving with a kangaroo, but I've never been skydiving and I've never met a kangaroo. So I haven't. I think I ate kangaroo. Yeah, I ate kangaroo once, but I didn't meet it before I ate it. It had been already butchered when I got to it. Awesome. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, and thank you to the people that have allowed the happenstance to happen. Where Dr. Tapp asked me what I was doing, and I was over at DC's, and he came over there, and one thing led to another, and DC's World, which I'd been part of for over a year now, maybe. Definitely going back to sometime earlier this year. It's been interesting. It's been edifying about MLM content. All these things, they use the same kind of fucked up thinking to do slightly different things. Mostly to separate you from your power, from your money, and from your own critical thinking. So, um, do the math. And if you don't know how to do the math, talk to somebody that does. Don't just listen to what people tell you. Don't assume everybody's got your best interests at heart, but do indeed try to do what's good for yourself and your fellow humans. Look after yourself. Look after your family. Look after your friends, and if we all do that, we're all going to be doing all right. And when I say look after them, I don't mean hire a hitman, and I don't mean at the expense of the entire world. I mean, let's try to work together to make things better. We can do it. We can do it. I know that sounds like a communist fucking ideology, but we don't have to do everything at the expense of somebody else. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. Community is the root of communism. Communism as a political idea, the way it's been implemented has sucked. But the idea that we work together to make the world a better place, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Think about every time you've tried to do a hard job on your own, and every time you've had like 1 or 2 extra pairs of hands to help you get it done. If they didn't just sit there and drink beer and eat your pizza, you probably got a lot of fucking shit done. I mean, I know like when I say like I built buildings, I built some shit totally on my own a couple of times, but 9 times out of 10, way more than 9 times out of 10. 999 times out of 100, like most of the time, even more of that, right? Team does the work, and teams get work done well. And when teams work together and they're well led, they're well managed, and they have good communication, that's how shit happens. The reason why we live in a world where humans have recreated things in a way that works is because of teamwork. And it's funny. We live in a world where people are rah, 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 my team, my team, my team. Teams can work simultaneously on things that bring us together. It doesn't always have to be a fucking football game. It doesn't always have to be my local sports team is better than your local sports team. Holy fuck. What a fucking metaphor for like a ridiculous way to live your life. But people can easily be swayed to hate somebody else for being slightly different, right? Yeah, purple. I built an entire garage single-handedly. Would have been a lot easier with more hands. Yeah, it can be done, but how much quicker would it have happened with more hands, right? It would take the same number of hours, but more hands makes the happen quicker. And some things do just happen quicker because you don't have to like build a jig to hold something. Because someone can just hold something for you for half a second. How many like in construction, having somebody help you brace something by just holding it with their hands for 5 seconds while you put a couple of screws in can save you like half an hour of lead up, right? Leaders, yeah, and this is I love this, Sarah. Thank you. The true leaders listen, but also know when to say yes, no, or let me look into it. Being open minded is a beautiful thing. Absolutely. And I did a show a few days back on the times that I've been forced to be a leader, and I might have been forced to be a leader again in my work with Obesity Canada. A couple of people there have told me that I'm taking a leadership position there. I haven't signed up for one. I haven't applied for one. But you know what? One of my fellow patient Advocates has become the executive director, and she's amazing. Her name is Lisa. She's fantastic. Ian's there, also another great leader. And these great leaders, they know how to listen, they know how to understand, and they do fucking make shit happen. And yeah, Dave, you know what? My son, who is on the autism spectrum, can't always help the way I would like him to be able to, but he does what he can, and it helps a lot. And he's learning to do more and more as he goes. Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. You put up 20 panels. Purple, you're right. Like, and there are ways. Like I know ways to like work alone. I know ways to improve it because I did it professionally. My body's so wrecked now. I couldn't fucking keep up. My arthritis in my hands has made it so like just doing little simple jobs is hard. And my lungs are slowing me down. But fuck, let me tell you. The show is over now because I went for 2 fucking hours. I went for half an hour longer than I ever thought I could. But you know what? I love having everybody come by. I love having a chance to talk because holy fuck am I loquacious. I love the people in the community. I love how we have a good community here of people that support each other. The people that have known each other for a long time. I know we have a great deal of love and respect for one another, and we don't have to see eye to eye on every damn thing. And oh yes, Ember is being interviewed by Mark Friday. Okay, check that out, please, if you can. There's so many things on, and I've noticed as what's the school year here, which starts in September. I've noticed as it's taken off. YouTube streaming seems to have been like increasing October, November. It seems like more people are doing more things, which makes it hard to see everything. But get out there and support some community members. Let's have some fun. I want to thank everybody again. It's over now. 2 hours, 1 minute. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much.